the media debate today focuses on the most important aspect of media: where to advertise, how much to advertise, what is the pricing, and the currency for that in television, which until recently has been the biggest medium in terms of advertising spends, has been TV ratings. Traditionally, 20 odd years back, we used to have TAM, in TAM, 2 ratings, and we went to a single rating system, and in the last few years we've had BARC. BARC has served the purpose of serving the 3 stakeholders of this ecosystem, which are the advertisers slash marketeers who invest in media vehicles and programming to be able to reach out to audiences, the media owners that are providers of data or carriers of advertising, and the very important stakeholders, media agencies, who decide and plan where the media spends and advertising spends happen. So today's media debate is about the fact whether we need 2 rating agencies or not. Recently, the TRAI came up with a notification inviting bids for multiple rating mechanisms. The last date for sending in expressions of interest is 30th April. We are doing this debate on 24th April. And the notion of the debate is India needs multiple TV ratings. Competition breeds excellence. As happens in a debate, there are 3 leaders from the industry opposing the debate, and there are 3 leaders from the industry supporting the motion that the debate has put in. My colleague Shoini has already introduced the panelists, but let me say this is a very heavyweight panel. Mr. Karthik Sharma, who's the CEO and MD of Omnicom in India, and he's a media industry veteran, has joined us online, and he brings the media agency perspective, and he'll speak for the motion. We have Ms. Mona Jain. Again, today she's wearing the hat of a media owner's perspective, but she's worked on the media agency side to be able to know all sides of the equation. She's also worked with a GEC, she's worked with news channels, she understands the ecosystem. We also have Mr. Rabindra Narayan, who represents a leading regional Indian language player and the entertainment ecosystem, so to say, in PTC. Welcome, Mr. Rabindra Narayan. Against the debate is Mr. Chintamani Rao, who spent almost 5 decades in the advertising, marketing, media profession, and he's somebody who has been on all sides. He's been a user of the data that rating mechanism provide in his days as the CEO of leading media agencies and ad agencies. He's been a provider of data as he was the CEO of Times Network, and he was CEO of India TV, and he's been one of the founding members of BARC. So really, he has a very sharp writing skill, sharp analytical skill, and today you'll see his argumentative skills, whether we need 2 media ratings or not. To his left is Mr. Rajiv Dubey, who represents the advertiser. Ultimately, it's the advertiser's money and the advertiser's objectives that the rating system is trying to help and solve. Mr. Rajiv Dubey is the head of media advertising marketing at Dabur. He spent almost 3 decades there, and he understands the process of brand building, media planning, buying, and media investments. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv Dubey, for being here. Last but not the least, to Rajiv's left is Mr. Varun Kohli. He is the Group CEO of Bharat Express, and again, he's been in the media ecosystem for many years and understands the nuances of what is lacking in the media ratings and why we need a system or why we don't need a system. He's speaking against the debate. Let me put out the pointers. Let me start by asking, though we are shooting this here, and this audience may not be representative of the whole ecosystem, but let me ask all of you in this room, how many of you believe that 2 rating systems are needed? So about 30% of you. How many of you believe that we need to have only 1 rating system and improve it? So it's an even Stevens.
Same number.
Even Stevens. So I would say that's very representative of the industry. Let me say that today we end the debate we should be clear on three things. What are the lacunas in the current BARC rating system that needs to be improved to have a single rating system, or even if there is a multiple, how does it differentiate? Second is who will pay for the rating system. And third is a very important thing. If there are two rating systems in certain formats and certain platforms don't do well on that, really, are we serving any purpose by having two rating systems? These are broadly the three things. Let me start by bringing in Ms. Mona Jain to start the debate. Why do we need multiple rating systems? Mona Jain.
Hi, thanks, Anurag. Firstly, I want to clarify one thing, that this is not really BARC bashing at all. We're talking purely, absolutely from the perspective of measurement system. The reason why I'm in the motion, in the favor of the fact that we need to have a second measurement system, is I think if you look at the kind of process, that gets a particular channel to get into a media plan, and the kind of yield or rate that they can enjoy, the process really begins with the agencies kind of putting together a communication strategy where they kind of believe a particular genre is entitled to be part of the media plan for reaching out with their campaigns to the consumer. Post that, the communication strategy plan, where probably I'll talk from a perspective of the genre that I'm representing here, which is news. News is part of the media plan. Then it goes to an execution planner, implementation planner, I think that's what they call them right now, who kind of puts it into a particular system and says, depending on what the GRPs, what the reach, average time spent on a particular channel, in the particular genre, which has been recommended by the communication planner to be part of. And based on the ranking, they decide this is the kind of, this AA, you have to be in the plan or not in the plan, based on what the ranking that you have. And if you're in the plan, then they also kind of decide basis, the ratings that you have, because you have a bit of a denominator or a measurement system called CPRP. What is the rate that you kind of is entitled to? Now, this is the entire process which happens. The fact of the matter is the dependency of an advertiser, recommendation from an agency to kind of take a particular media plan, and you have as broadcaster who actually totally, absolutely the mercy of that particular measurement system to decide as to where are you ranked. Nobody looks at, the issue really is, it's become very anal. The entire process become very anal, very, very quantitative. Nobody wants to look at what probably the reality on the ground is. That's my question mark. Saying that for yes, a particular channel or a network is not coming in a genre because BARC kind of says that. But does anybody go beyond looking at the BARC data? You have lots of data points that you can actually refer to get a real picture. For instance, from my point of view, I do a lot of pitching, to the advertisers and the agencies, saying that please do look at, whatever way I'm ranked, please do look at my online data, my digital data. I'm doing extremely well there. I'm top 3 ranking, not only in the country, but also worldwide. I also kind of suggest, we also do a bit of a software research on the ground, talk to their stakeholders at various marketplaces and tell them, look, what they are saying about our network, can you please consider that? So the response and the answer that you really get is, yes, it's all very good. We agree with you, acknowledge you, but guys, can you please get your rating little up in BARC? If you do that, then Procel will be able to give you what you're entitled for. So that really is a reason as to why I want to question the fact that you should have an alternate, authenticated, validated, acknowledged currency, which actually kind of probably looks at it in an alternate way also, which also is something which is acknowledged, recognized by the advertisers and the agencies also, and not. So that's really the reason as to why I kind of believe.
Okay, Monaji, your belief is that an alternate system will address the gaps in BARC and hopefully the right numbers for your platform, yes, or other platform will show up. I will come back to you to say, what if the new platform comes and certain platforms don't do well? How will we deal with it? But at this point, let me bring in Mr. Chintamani Rao to speak against the motion. Mr. Rao, all yours.
Mr. Chairman, before I first, I will take a little longer than Mona did. I hope that's all right. The TRAI consultation paper from which this question arises deals with both TV and radio audience measurement. I will focus on TV measurement. I think all of us are focusing on TV measurement today. Also, the paper covers technology, sample size, multi-platform measurement, and so on. I will focus on the issue at hand, which is the view that India needs multiple rating providers. Now, broadcasting came into the remit of TRAI in 2004. In 2008, they, starting 2008, they have made various attempts to get involved in ratings and to exercise some measure of control, some contribution to the whole business of audience measurement. Very interestingly, in March 2008, TRAI issued a recommendation, a consultation paper, followed by a recommendation paper in July 2008, in which the authority recommends, I'm quoting, the authority recommends self-regulation through the industry-led body. Recommends self-regulation through the industry-led body. The recommendation paper actually includes as its annexures the articles of association, the memorandum of association and articles of association of BARC. Okay? The recommendation paper also says BARC shall have equal representation with equal voting rights from all three constituents, namely 3SFI, ISA and IBF. So very specifically, in 2008, TRAI recommends an industry-led body. It's called BARC. It has three constituents, and its memorandum and articles of association are included in the report. In April 2024, this month, in the consultation paper, which we now is the subject today, it says, independence from industry stakeholders is crucial for ensuring a neutral and unbiased approach to audience measurement. When measurement agencies are free from industry affiliations or influences, the process remains objective, transparent, and untainted by external pressures, enhancing credibility and trustworthiness. So it used to be 15 years ago that the whole problem was that we had a private company like TAM, driven by its own commercial interests, and what was needed was an industry-led body 15 years ago. Now it turns out that's not so. Now it turns out that an industry-led body is subject to influences, making its credibility and trustworthiness questionable. So what has changed in these 15 years for this 180-degree turnaround? Why suddenly has the industry-led body become the issue? Mind you, in this paper, TRAI is not questioning the functioning of BARC. It is questioning the very concept of an industry-led body doing the ratings. In this paper, TRAI cites Mediametry and Barb as examples of, leading examples in the world. Both are industry-owned. So the solution is not a private company. It's not an industry-led body. Then what is it? Government? God help us, I hope not. Now, why not multiple providers? Look at our own history. We had TAM and InTAM. Then TAM acquired InTAM. Then we had TAM and AMAP folded up. Then in print, we had NRS and IRS. And finally, they came together, and now we have only the IRS. What are the issues? First of all, when you have more than one provider, as we did, the TAM and AMAP days, for instance, NRS, IRS days, they have different definitions, different methodologies. Which one do you subscribe to? How do you interpret the data? You use whichever one suits you. So we had, in the agency, we had TAM clients and InTAM clients. We had NRS clients and IRS clients. Doesn't it make sense? We're the same people planning in the morning for one client, in the afternoon for another client, using TAM for one and TAM for the other, because that's what they believe in. Does it make sense? Most important, viability. The market could not support two vendors. It's as simple as that. So TAM bought over InTAM, AMAP folded up with not enough subscribers, NRS and IRS merged. Now, it is the responsibility of the regulator to protect the consumer interest, and to do that, to ensure the viability of service providers, so that they can maintain the quality of service. It is critical. A service provider who is not financially viable will compromise the quality of service. TRAI has failed miserably with that in telecommunications. They are aiming to do that in TV audience measurement as well. In this recommendation, and far from ensuring the viability of the service provider, TRAI has been prescribing an increase in sample size. It goes on recommending sample size increases without any thought to who's going to pay for it. Now, the same document also recommends mandatory adoption of return path data. Wonderful. RPD, we all know it technologically is terrific. But it specifically says that DPOs should be allowed to negotiate the terms on which they will share the data with the ratings provider. So what the regulator is saying is, it is mandatory for you to buy the data. It is not mandatory for you to sell it. Does it make sense? You have to buy the data, but if I don't like the price you're giving me, I don't have to sell it to you. It's your problem. You go and find it somewhere else. And this is always, I'm just saying, it's an indication of this TRAI's constant, has been so consistent over the years. They tread very carefully when it comes to the distribution trade. They're very tough and very demanding of the broadcasting business, but with distribution, they're very, very careful. So what is the issue and what is the way forward? No doubt there are many questions about BARC and its functioning, but I have always maintained and continue to maintain that audience measurement is no business of the government. It is not about the number of vendors. It is how they are managed. Two poorly managed vendors are not better than one, I think. The key issue with BARC is that it is dominated by one of its constituents. And that is the one that is being measured. I have always questioned the role of the ISA, and I continue to do so. When we conceived of BARC, and when we signed the memorandum of association, we saw it as an equal stakes venture of three partners. The whole idea was none of them should be able to call the shots individually. When TRAI put out its criteria for accreditation in 2013, it specified that not more than 10% of the rating provider can be owned by a broadcaster, an advertising agency, or an advertiser. So on that alone, time was ruled out. It went on to license and accredit only one provider who was owned entirely by these three sectors. Please explain that to me. I have always questioned the role of the ISA, and I continue to do so. It is their money that fuels the entire media ecosystem. Why did they, to begin with, accept a structure in which IBF had 60%? And having done that, they seem to sit passively and accept all that goes on. Perhaps they don't. Perhaps they have heated arguments in the boardroom, but to the outside observer, there's no evidence. It seems that they're just either unable or unwilling to argue and influence matters. Either way, it is their money, and they are equally responsible for the mess. The April 2020 document does make some sound recommendations for structural reforms. One of those is equal board representation for all three constituents, with equal voting rights, irrespective of their share of equity. Again, I do not accept a role for the government, but there is very good sense in those recommendations. In sum, one data provider with effective management and supervision. The demand for multiple providers reminds me of this joke. There's this cruise liner out at sea, and captain comes on the PA system, says, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have some good news for you and I have some bad news for you. Let me first get over with the bad news. I'm afraid the bad news is this. I'm afraid because of some problems in the kitchens, the crew have thrown all our food overboard instead of the garbage. So all the food is gone, only the garbage is left. As we are 2 days away from the nearest port, that's all we have. Well, now let me share some good news with you. We have plenty of garbage.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Very well.
Thank you. I'm confused if you're calling the data that BARC puts out as garbage. I don't think so, but on a lighter note. But at this point, let me bring in Mr. Kartikeya Sharma, who represents a very large agency and also represents the agency ecosystem. Mr. Sharma, you heard the opening argument from both Ms. Jain supporting multiple agencies and Mr. Rao saying why multiple agencies won't solve the problem. Your comments.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Because I can't see all of you. Wish I was there. Yeah, okay. I think why do we need two of anything? So forget our industry for the time being. Why do we need a BSc and NSc? Why do we need civil and experience and everything? The short answer for any such examples is that innovation and competition. There is a bit of competition which is involved in all this, with the logic for that. Most importantly, the lens I am wearing is more than the competition is innovation. When there are more than one party, it helps us fuel innovation, which is very critical at this juncture. The second question is, whose side are we really representing finally, whether you are an advertiser, whether you are an agency or whether you are a broadcaster, our worry should only be one, and that is the consumer. And today's day and age, I think a lot of the argument on its own, they all sound fine. The consumer is looking at, since it's a TV thing, I call it a screen. In the mind, today TV is consumed through a mobile or a classical TV, 30-inch TV or 50-inch TV, depending on which part of India you are in. The consumer has moved on. So how are we measuring some of this TV itself, and are we getting the value? If we are thinking of some of the examples which are spoken by Chintamani, which is about TAM and TAM, I think there are learnings there, right? Both those systems, TAM, TAM, APAM, all that they try to do the same thing. My argument is very simple. There is an opportunity for a land like us, 140-45 crore people in India. There's not two, maybe there are more than two. And systems which can prevail, doing very different tasks of measurement. It is not doing necessarily the more of the same. Then obviously, sampling everything, you will get different results and you will be confused. But there are, for example, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, we are seeing massive explosion which is happening. And many of the advertisers here, and whoever is listening, will agree. In fact, it is just not the top 10 cities, but many brands. Today, many D2C brands, what we are seeing is with distribution going the way they are directly selling. The sales is not just happening in the classical metros that we are known for. While they are important, there are many other metros which are emerging, and where television and digital everything plays an important role. Again, I will take a lead from what Mona said. This is not a one bashing the other, but there is a role, and there is, I think, innovation which is required. People make this one way to measure. RPD is another way to measure. There are other ways to measure. And this is not a new subject. Even in the market like US, which is the largest AdX market, there are two systems. It's a recent people ecosystem. There is UK where there are two systems. There is Australia, there is Philippines, there is Malaysia. There is this reasonably long for us to say that how can two or more systems coexist. The short answer I come back is innovation. I think it's in a country like us, it's very important. And innovation and a bit of competition is also healthy. If there is no competition, we will have single brand in every category that we operate. So it's very, very important that yes, we can have a mindset which is of how can one system help the other. So for example, there are certain audiences. In digital, we talk about all this, but TV, we don't want to talk about it. TV, we want to plan as one very gross sum of some, 20, 30 million people. But in digital, the same agency will plan for maybe 30 or 40 cohorts. Why is it that? Because digital allows you to. So if I were to bring the same concept on TV and do the planning, we are not able to do because we do not have enough data set. And probably one system alone cannot solve it. And that also manufacturing having more than one system to do it. Yes, there are challenges, some are the real challenges and not because, and those are important conversations to be had, but I think in a large country like us, it is very, very important that innovation from not one company is there. More than one company should definitely look into it. And if there is business case, they will come. If there is no business case, if they can't make the money, they will anyway go away. Like some of the people in the past have done. So that part, it resonates with me. But not having saying that only one system is not it is not wrong that you should. Current system is not wrong. Let me again make that point. But I think the newer system can enhance what we have. For example, smaller audiences or smaller markets, there are multiple ways you can segment it. You can go to urban versus rural, you can have different players. Or Bharat versus India, we can have different players. We say all this in our presentations, but we can reflect this in our newer reality. And there is a market. The market will decide how many players can survive or not. It is not for us to decide. And if the market wants to pay for it, today I will take a lead from this argument of screen. And we have to really start thinking screen and not worry. I'm just replacing the word TV to a screen. In a screen-based world, the meshing of what is digital, what is linear TV, it's all meshed up. People are just consuming some form of content which is meaningful for them. And therefore different types of consumption require different types of measure. So my argument is innovation is critical. I think it's high time. There are many industries which do that. The current provider is doing its mandate pretty well. They're all users of it. And there are different dimensions as an end user I would like to see.
Thank you, Karthik.
That's fine.
Thank you, Karthik, for bringing about the point that digital ecosystem allows you to segment data, look at different cohorts, and their innovation in a new rating system will make sure that there is some differentiation and hence the use of such a system. And there is a need for screen rating points or content rating points rather than television rating points. And clearly there are gaps in the current rating system that can be addressed by a new rating system. That's broadly what you're saying. At this point, let me bring the most important stakeholder in this ecosystem, the advertiser, the brand, the marketer. And to get the marketeers and the brand owners' perspective, we have Mr. Rajiv Dubey from Dabur, who has been involved in this ecosystem for almost 3 decades. Rajiv, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's some resonance. For advertiser, what is most important? One rating system, 2 rating system, multiple system. It really doesn't matter actually. How many more rating systems you can bring in, as long as you can help me sell, right? My objective is to reach out to my consumers in a cheapest possible manner. And to do that, I need information. Where is the information coming from? Information is coming from one source, or is it coming from 2 sources? When, like Mr. Chintamani Rao has been a veteran, he told us that, there were 2 systems like TAM and TAM. Ultimately, they got merged. Later on, again, we had 2 systems at some point of time. Second one failed and disappeared. Then we got BARC, where broadcasters had over 60% stake, and agencies and ISA had 20% stake each. The idea was to have a robust system so that we can have over 50,000 meters in the country and we could measure everybody well. Have we done that very well? Probably yes, probably no. Probably yes, because probably we have looked at a system based on audience mapping, which was based on NCCS system, which came into being in year 2014-15. And around the same time, BARC system was built and the system was built in that way. What happened because of NCCS system at that point in time? What happened was that it was based on the ownership of durables a household has. Today, the country has progressed with, say, over 884 million smartphones and about 1.2 billion phone penetration in the country. Almost number of people who are consuming internet through mobile phones is equal to total TV viewers. The durable ownership has become almost 83% in NCCS A and B households. So as a result, what is happening is today that if you look at urban areas, NCCS A and B constitutes to 83% of the people. If you look at all India, 78% people fall in NCCS A and B. So because of which, one sees that there are anomalies in understanding the consumers in a right way. So for an advertiser, what matters is that I should get right information so that I can reach my consumers in a right way, which probably can be corrected by getting a right audience mapping. That's one part of TV measurement, is what I feel. Second part is that audiences have moved away. When this thing was done in 2015, been almost 9-10 years, the world has moved on. There has been a digital revolution. If you look at consumption of content on TV or say any screen, the consumption of content has moved away from TV. One has to look at how the content is consumed. Like today, if you look at the English genre, which used to exist earlier, the English movie genres and the entertainment genre, that is almost non-existent on television. It has moved away to digital and to OTT. Similarly, one has seen that there's a major shift of viewership happening from television to digital in news ecosystem. The next to follow will be the Hindi movies and thereafter general entertainment. Are we able to measure it properly? No, we are not. Currently, the system we have is only measuring one thing. Although, I'm against the motion, what I'm saying is that we need one system, and that system has to be strengthened in such a way that the system is able to measure one human being who's consuming both TV and digital equally. And that will solve the problem, rather than having two different ecosystems. Two different ecosystems will have more confusion in the sense that, you will have two data sets coming. And largely what one has seen is that one advertiser or one agency would use one and the other person would use another, which is what we had seen earlier coming from the experience. In that, what happens is confusion. Secondly, who's going to fund it? When BARC was being found, one saw that there was a major issue in funding it, It was so expensive that, the current ecosystem, the ecosystem which existed at that point in time was not able to fund it properly. Then, everybody had to pitch in, and then we had to fund it in such a way that, broadcaster who are the beneficiaries of it, they ended up funding about 60% of it. If you have two ecosystems, who's going to fund it? Like Dr. Batra said initially, who's going to fund it? So these are issues. I would say that to solve the problem, you should not create another problem. You should solve the problem by fixing the problem, looking at the issues of audience measurement, looking at the audiences, how they are mapped in the country, and then solve it.
Thank you, Mr. Dubey. The key question is, who will bell the cat? What are the problems to be fixed? But what you are essentially saying is that the gaps in the existing system should be improved. The new reality of digital must be included. And very important is to be able to go beyond television, is what you are saying, which is what Mr. Karthik Sharma, at least there's some commonality in what you're talking. Let me at this point bring in Mr. Rabindra Narayan of PTC, who's for the motion, we need multiple ratings. Mr. Narayan.
Thanks, Anurag. We've all heard the technicalities, the legacy, the history, the government interference, and all of the issues related to ratings. My only contention is the fact that we are standing here and debating the issue implies that the current system lacks trust. It lacks credibility, which is why we are discussing it. Secondly, we are all talking with the premise that TV ratings means linear TV ratings. Because that is what BARC does. BARC does only analysis of linear TV, which is beamed and received through satellite and cable, nothing else. The TV viewing today is not just linear TV. In fact, my linear TV also has several forms now. There is connected TV, there is fast TV coming on the same screen in the same manner. But BARC is not measuring it. Today, we have 23 beams going across the nation and the world. But BARC measures only one beam, which goes through the INSAT or Intelsat and comes down to the cable operator, and via cable goes to people's home. Whereas the BARC has the technology where it is giving you ratings based on image mapping. If I add my watermark into the master feed, it's becoming available on my connected TV, on my fast TV, on my YouTube, on my OTT, on my Facebook feed, on various other websites and feeds. BARC should be able to measure it easily. Why don't they do it? They have the technology, they have the TV screen. Even if I'm saying that you discount laptops, mobile phones, or desktops or laptops, but the TV screen remains the same. It is also getting my feed through Prime app channel, my own OTT, PTC Play app channels, and through various other mediums, through my Samsung's fast TV, connected TV, Jio's app, Jio Cinema app, where the streaming channels are available. But BARC is not measuring it. Do they need to invest more? No, they don't need to. They don't invest more into analysis. They don't need meters anymore. These systems are addressable. They don't need more than 50,000 or 1 lakh meters or 2 lakh meters that they have installed already, because every cable operator is now digitized and it has a two-way addressable communication available. We did an experiment. For 3 months, we asked Fastway in Punjab to give us ratings based on their boxes. At that time, they had 10 lakh boxes in Punjab, which were addressable HD boxes, two-way communication happening, where they could pull in the data. Earlier, the cable was only one way. The box would only give away the signal. Nothing will come back to it. Now the boxes are addressable. The data is available to pull out. And I was shocked that we've been selling PTC Punjabi as the #1 channel. Whereas PTC News was the #1 channel in the entire of Punjab, ahead of every other channel, and my all other 4 or 5 channels combined were not even half of the ratings of PTC News. And my belief in that rating became very solid, because what I used to notice is all the politicians would come to us and say, "Patti chala do sir hamari niche, patti." They were not even bothered about the full news going. They said, "वो फ्लैश न्यूज़ फ्लैश चलता है वो पट्टी कहते हैं उसे, वो पट्टी चला दो सर." पट्टी चल गई, everybody will in Punjab know that I have been appointed chairman, or I have been given this task, or this has happened with me. So if there was no reach, actually, then they would not be doing it. If as per BARC, I think news genre is what, 6%, 7% in the entire country? Why is our Prime Minister bothered about doing activities, converting schemes into events to get onto news channels? Why doesn't he look for a role in Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu or something other to popularize himself? जय श्री राम और श्री राम मंदिर की इनॉग्रेशन मैं किसी सोनी या जी या स्टार के सीरियल के अंदर क्यों नहीं बिल्ड कर ली? सारी स्टार कास्ट में विजिट कर रही. वाई आफ्टर न्यूज़ चैनल्स? वाई दे आर स्पेंडिंग मनी? वाई दे आर एडवर्टाइजिंग? 6% लोग तक पहुंचता है देश में. This whole country's future is dependent on the government it elects, and the people who are going to be elected think. The key is with the news channels, which is why they're trying to control news channel. They're trying to advertise on news channels. This is an anomaly which makes me question: is BARC correct? If it is not correct, why is it the currency in this nation? Why all the money that is being spent by advertisers who are looking to spend their money judiciously into getting their consumers based on this Bible, which is junk? I mean, I have never heard such an example anywhere where the Bible is wrong and I'm still arguing that the Bible is right. It should continue. The technology has changed. The question is of funding. Who will fund the others? There is no more the question. Systems are addressable. Data is flowing in. Airtel DTH, every box is now addressable. Airtel DTH or Dish TV DTH, these data is coming to them. Who is watching which channel? Why are Punjabi channels being carried by operators and DTH without carriage fee? Because they know they will get me viewers. Jio at one point of time was paying regional channels. Why? They were not acquiring content. They were selling their free GB data to those areas where they knew the regional content will get the data consumed. System exists. Ratings exist. The trouble is the ecosystem is not allowing the expansion of those ratings. One agency, two agency, multiple agencies, doesn't matter. Why are we fighting about television rating points? Why are we not fighting for content rating point? My program, Dance Punjabi Dance, which is being launched, it will air on the linear TV. It will also air on Fast TV. It will also air on Connected TV. It will also air on my OTT, PTC Play app. It will also air on YouTube. It will also air at various other platforms. But when I go to an agency, they'll be throwing the bark number. You're a Punjabi channel. One of the Punjabi channel, 9% of the total universe. Punjabi universe is bigger than news universe. 9%. So 100 रुपए में से 9 रुपए में से ही आपको हिस्सा मिलेगा. But when I go and shoot that show, the studio costs the same, the lights cost the same, the cameras cost the same, manpower costs the same. My input cost of producing the regional content is the same as any mainline Indian channel. But the advertiser says it doesn't matter to me. My currency is bark. That is my Bible. Bible says 9 out of 100 people watch you in Punjab. In Punjab, 9 out of 100. In Punjab, 91% people are not even watching a Punjabi television. We live with it every day. Whenever I'll go to an advertiser, he'll say, ठीक है आप बना रहे हो पंजाब में आपको लोग देखते हैं, you're a Punjabi channel, but only 9 out of 100 people are watching you. So what are you talking about? What rates are you asking me? What are you saying 5,000 rupees per 10 seconds? You're not worth more than 500 rupees. So we have to live with it. We have to keep investing into creating good shows, into competing with Hindi channels. Otherwise, I will not even remain 9%. So why should I not fight for avenues which are giving me numbers? I quoted you an incident. We were doing live telecast of PTC Punjabi Film Awards. The entire film industry of Punjab, the entire who's who of Punjabi industry from world and Bollywood was sitting there. Everybody logically should have been watching that show. Facebook was our partner. What we noticed at the end of the week, Bark gave me a rating of 2.5 GRP. Whereas on Facebook, I had 4.5 million views. Whom should I believe? What should I sell? If I go to an advertiser, look at this number, boss, on YouTube, Facebook, this is the number. You say, but this is not my career. I don't want to acknowledge, I don't want to see it. Show me Bark. Bark says you are this. A Bhojpuri channel was doing better at that time in Punjab. We complained to Bark.
I can give you a reasoning like Bark. There are more Bhojpuris working in Punjab as laborer. I hope Bhojpuris don't get upset. But Bark has an explanation for everything. Yeah.
So the trouble is, see, अगर शहर में लाला की एक दुकान है और वही सिर्फ चावल बेचेगा, तो वो चाहे 100 रुपए में बेचे, 200 में बेचे, आपको खरीदने पड़ेंगे.
Absolutely.
Can I add one?
Yeah, and you know, Mona, you also echoed the same thing.
Yeah.
Why don't you add that perspective?
I just want to add on to this. For instance, when Chandrayaan happened,
Yes.
I think everybody in the world and India were watching Chandrayaan. But please go and look at the data. You'll find that particular week the news genre actually went down. Now, is it a possibility? Is it a possibility? Is it real? The other example, if you allow me, right now, Anurag, if you ask me, one of the categories, was not, they were very, very heavy with us, but because of Bark ratings and the share that we had, they were not kind of buying into us. So we obviously kind of showcased our alternate data in terms of our digital numbers. Yeah. automobiles. So what we did was we went to 25 cities across the country, to cities like, maybe Ranchi, Jaipur, Indore, Kanpur, Lucknow, and we spoke to almost 20 or 30 odd people. They're distributors, people who were kind of, the distributors, and also to people who were walking into their showrooms to kind of buy the car. And it was a very, very impromptu kind of a research. And I will take my competition's name also, but top 3 channels which were being recalled were, Aaj Tak, Z News, and ABP also, which was my ex channel. Mm-hmm. I can promise you one thing, and I'm not exaggerating. I have the videos with me. I can share all of them with you. There was no mention of TV9. I have to say that. Sorry. India TV was, yes, 2-3 places, yes, they kind of recall that very clearly. Then Network 18 was 1 or 2 places. There was a recall of the regional channels also, because we were going to the smaller market. They said we watch the national channels, but we also watch regional channels because we want to be abreast of what's really happening in the local marketplace. Okay, so this is the video that I went and showed to 3 of the automobile stakeholders, saying this is what your partners are saying. This is what your consumer is saying. So he said, absolutely good. He said yes. Thankfully, because of that, we were able to get into part of the plan. For 1 year, I was not in the plan at all for 2 advertisers. You can do my AdX and you can figure that out. But we obviously got into the plan. Then that particular brief went to the agency to say, okay, now I think we should look at this particular network because they seem to be resonating with our stakeholders. They have to be in the plan. And fair enough. I get, this plan, from the agency which says कि ये आपकी ranking है, ये आपकी GRP है, ये इतना आपको share मिलेगा, ये आपका rate होगा. Okay. Eventually, the entire conversation went down to that particular number, which is reflected by BARC, which I believe does not kind of resonate to what really market is saying about the genre. You talk to anybody and everybody, people seem to be watching television. That does not reflect in the genre share that we have right now. I think we are much higher than what BARC is projecting, because you have just one currency measurement data, which is validated by all the bodies, all the critical bodies, who kind of matter. And that is the only currency that people will kind of vouch for, which we will be evaluated on. And therefore, you're at the mercy of them. The reason why I'm kind of proposing the fact that you need to have an alternate measurement system, so there is a bit of a competition in the marketplace. People are able to kind of get a little competitive. Like, Karthik said, innovations is very, very important. There will be obviously fire in everybody's belly to kind of, outstage each other. So monopoly is never right, It makes people complacent. I think it's important to get
whether in politics or in media.
Yeah.
Monopolies are not good.
So that's
it's
really,
election time.
Yep.
Okay.
So adding to what I was saying was, there is also a problem of algorithm, as we are talking about it, in BARC. The entertainment will always remain in top, no matter you shoot a minister, a car can trample people, the bomb blast can happen, earthquake can happen, nothing will beat entertainment. No spike of ratings has ever come in the history of recorded ratings where a news channel on a day has beaten a new entertainment channel.
So you're saying there is a bias again? Yeah.
I have a point to make, sir.
Yes, Mr. Dubey, before I bring Mr. Varun Kohli.
So, can I have the mic, please? Yeah. Yes. So, sir, during the time when COVID happened, 2020, and Prime Minister Modi used to come on TV every second day, and we saw that phenomena, and he's very popular Prime Minister. And we did one exercise of mapping all the 199 news channels at that point in time, and said if you were to add up all the ratings of Prime Minister Modi's live speech, how much does it add up to?
I'll give you an answer.
So we did that, right? And we saw that when he comes to speak on TV live, all channels put together, they're generating ratings equivalent of about 21, right? So we saw that as an opportunity. As said, whenever Prime Minister is live on TV, it's a good opportunity to present your brands on TV. And I said that if you were to cover, say, about 50-60% of them, can we reach about 80% of this 20% rating? And we did that. So it's not that, an event does not give you ratings. It gives you ratings at that point of time, like Chandrayaan launch. It happened at some 540.
On Chandrayaan, it didn't give the rating.
So it did give a rating. If you look at that point of time.
It dropped.
No, sir. What she's saying is that drop in the rating in the whole week. I'm referring to that 15-minute time. Chandrayaan launched was...
Even then?
Just a second. So it reached moon at some 5:45 p.m. before the prime time, right? At that point of time, you should look at what was the total TV ratings. Out of that, what was the channel share of the news channels at that point of time, not the whole week. If you compare it with the whole week, it's not apple to apple comparison. You should put the things in perspective.
Yes,
that's all.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I want to say.
Yeah.
And nothing against any genre as such. What happens is that news genre generates a certain number of, it gives you a certain number of audiences. However, it is not as much as entertainment. The reason why it is not as much as entertainment is probably because viewers are not watching it, and probably audience mapping is not done properly. That's the question.
What Mr. Dubai is saying,
yes,
that the audience of news, especially English news, is all digital. They've gone to digital, and hence it does not show up on TV.
That's not the
which
argument. The argument
BARC
is
doesn't map.
COVID was an exceptional circumstance. People's lives were dependent on what Modi was saying at that time. So Modi came on TV to tell you how you're safe or not safe, whether by beating thali you'll be safe. If he said that, people did that because the lives were dependent on that day. It's an exceptional circumstance, so that's not the example. During the last so many years, from 98 I've been running television channels, I've never seen a single day, including the day of Chandrayaan, where the news channels could beat entertainment channel in ratings.
We'll come.
at point of time.
We'll come to that point.
5:30
We'll come to that point, but let me
Continue
conclude the
further
opening
on
comments.
this.
Yes.
So to conclude, I would say, Jio has 40 crore handsets. They have the data. They can bring out the data. Airtel has the data. They can bring out the data. It can be then aggregated, and that aggregated content rating point should be the currency. TRP and GRP should cease to exist for all advertisers as of now, and CRP should start being the currency. The ratings are available whether BARC aggregates it, whether Chrome aggregates it, or they provide their own data, the channels individually or the advertiser individually analyze it, or multiple agencies come and analyze it, is a matter of technicality. The concept is the current system is flawed, biased, and biased why? It is controlled by a handful of people. The advertising money in this country for TV is controlled by a few agencies which you can count on your finger. Similarly, the broadcasters lobby is controlled by 4 business houses. So it will always remain in their favor. The data shows it. I'm not saying it. The data.
Thank you, Arun, for making that point. Mr. Rao, we'll bring you in quickly, but let me bring in Mr. Varun Kohli for his opening comments, and then we bring you on immediately. Varun, your opening comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Whatever I've heard from all my esteemed panelists is talking about BARC not measuring an X or a Y or a Z, right? It is not about BARC as a whole, right? Why did BARC come into existence? Which Mr. Rao very clearly pointed out. It was publishers who wanted a different rating system, right? And then a mechanism was drawn, right? Now questioning something just because the TV's ratings are not coming to the right proportion or digital is not being measured, have a separate body to do that, I don't think is the right way in terms of the kind of cost. And then again, another rationale will come, or probably they are not doing the right job. We need to come together and exercise our jurisdiction with the BARC also, and telling them what more is needed. If geos and all can give content, why can't BARC source that content together and then give you all the connected TVs, whether it is linear or digital, and give you one rating point. Also, we have to also point out one thing which I wanted to say. Earlier there were 8-9 news channels. Today there are 15 who are measured. So of course the percentage will go down. Somebody will go up and somebody will go down. While we'll keep on bashing who's number 1 and who's number 2, my point is, idea is come together, talk to BARC in a right way, and have connected digital viewership along with television. A lot of the problem will get solved.
So,
thank you.
News channels right now, and how do you decide which is number 1, which is giving you rating? So there's some system which gives you some rating, and in absence of that, we'll never know who's there and who's not.
And Rajiv, Mona ji, and everybody has made this point that advertisers, CMOs, media heads, they look at the rating from BARC and they broadly stay with it.
Yeah.
Most of them don't look at surrogates or test the hypothesis of BARC ratings.
Yeah, so I will probably kind of...
Rajiv, you do.
Chairman.
I will speak...
Yes, Mr. Rao. Mona, let me get Mr. Rao in. He's wanting to go.
If I can take the liberty of getting back to the motion before the House. The motion before the House is to do with whether we need multiple rating providers.
I do.
I have no quarrel with all that you're saying about the issues with BARC. Okay? But for instance, if Airtel and Jio and everybody has released data into the market, is that a good idea? Or, like you said, maybe BARC aggregates the data, in which case that then becomes a provider. Then the one BARC or X or Y or Z who aggregates the data becomes the one provider. So how is that multiple providers?
But there will be
Number
multiple
one.
guys addressing
Multiple sources of data.
Multiple sources of data being
But
aggregated,
multiple
agencies
aggregated
analyzing
and published by one provider is still a single provider.
No.
The trick is in the aggregation, isn't it? Do I treat one data point of Airtel the same as one data point of Jio, or are they different? I decide. I'm the provider.
So, Mr.
No,
Rao,
all that you're pointing out that's wrong with BARC, what I'm not able to understand is, I'm not quarreling with what you're saying about BARC, but what I'm not able to understand is, why is having more providers a solution? If there's a problem with this, fix this.
and what is your
couldn't be
solution, Mr.
fixed.
Rao? ISA,
It couldn't be fixed. 10
ISA
years we
taking a
applied.
bigger role and marketing.
Then disband BARC and have
By all means.
have one provider that does the job.
By all means.
Multiple or single is the question.
By all means, you can discard BARC. We operate in countries like Canada where there are no rating systems.
And it's interesting, I mean, when there was TAM, people said, no, TAM is running off on its own, it can't be controlled. We will control it.
Yeah.
When we control it, we'll say, no, hello, we own it, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why can't we run it?
The larger question to ask is, should the broadcasters be part of BARC? Or should only be the advertisers and agencies be part of BARC? And that's the question.
Anurag, elsewhere in the world, certainly in the UK and France, UK is and which are much revered models, the data providers are owned by broadcasters, right? But not by industry bodies. Mediametry is not owned by industry bodies. Mediametry is owned by individual companies. That's the difference. It has some dozens of companies sitting on its board. The thing is, why we created the BARC model, and I was there. When I say we, I mean it. Okay. Why we created the BARC model like that is because there were precisely three stakeholders in this ecosystem: broadcasters, advertisers, and agencies. Or don't use the term broadcasters if you like. Today, say the content providers, the advertisers, and the agencies. These three, the only three constituents of the ecosystem, were all members of it. And we said all three must have an equal voice. Therefore, 1/3 equity each, and equal representation on the board. Now, we were talking earlier about funding and the problem with funding. We had agreed with the 1/3 equity for each. We had agreed that the broadcasters would provide 85% of the corpus to start the operation. There was nothing wrong with that. Broadcasters agreed to provide 85% of the corpus, 10% 3SFI, and 5% IBA, 5% ISA. Never mind, the equity was going to be 1/3. Voting rights 1/3. But corpus 85% from IBF. Because we wanted to get the system going in a clear and fair and trustworthy manner. That was the idea. What happened after that, I don't know.
Absolutely. Let me bring in Mr. Karthik Sharma before I bring in. Karthik, you now heard everybody on the for side and against side. Is there a solution out of this thinking? If we leave BARC the way it is, then there are questions unaddressed, and there is a call for another rating system. If you have two rating systems, again there may be a criticism of that. It may not solve the problem. So is there a solution, or it will continue to be a debate like it has been for 20 years?
Good question. Okay, first let me clarify some of the points, which is, I'm not, as I started, this is from, at least from my side, this is not about BARC is wrong or anything. There is a system which we all agree, which we are part of, an ecosystem. It is serving certain purposes. The other stakeholders, even this side, far side, whether it's Nova or the other broadcasters, while I hear them, this is a classical question which will come in any measurement, not this bar. It is the solve can only come. And I think most of the people in the forum here, knowingly or unknowingly, have kind of agreed to my opening statement, which is about measuring not just television. The meaning of television has changed from linear TV to CTV, and I think everyone in their own way has said it. So I won't belabor that point. The need is a secondary system plus a second system or a third system will put some pressure, that's no doubt about it. More importantly, the point which I will teach as innovation. While one can do, more companies, why are there so many companies in the same field today in any sector is because there is of innovation. And if we just say only one company can innovate, I'm not so sure about it. In any field of life, we have not seen that evidence happen. So my perspective is having more than one is only from the standpoint of in a country like innovation. We all spoke of Chandrayaan. I'll take that example. ISRO actually made the rocket at much lower cost than what was touted by, say, NASA and other things. The question should be, we also heard today about cost being there, and it's a real issue. So we should encourage other players to come back with a system or systems at a much lower cost. That is to me the innovation. And which better country than India, which has some of the best talent, to practice problem. Today, look at the startup ecosystem, some of the solutions that we are talking about. Classic example in a very different field is UPI. Nobody believes it today, we are 40% of the world's payment is through UPI. So we are a country, a nation which has shown the world that we can innovate even in tech products. The solution is somewhere in tech. More companies can actually help us grow this industry, and many of the debates can be put to rest. In the short term, the debate will continue. Short answer, Anurag, in the short term, we do not have. We only have one system, we will keep debating, whether it's right, wrong, whether it's biased, not biased. But more companies come.
You know, biased, not biased, I wouldn't say, but it is certainly, I won't take the name of stakeholders of BARC, but stakeholders have told me privately that people in BARC don't listen. I remember 15 years back, people would complain about L.V. Krishnan that he doesn't engage, right? And L.V. is among the most polite and nicest people, and I'm not patronizing him just. But today, BARC hasn't changed. It is doing what it was doing. It hasn't kept pace with what is, as the digital ecosystem for content consumption has grown. Mr. Dubey, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that today the biggest company in the country, biggest media company in the country, Google. How many rating system does it follow? That's the biggest media company in the country, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even create content, right? It has its own system. It tells you that this is the number. Please take it or leave it.
But if
right?
you tell you, Rajiv,
and nobody says anything about it, right?
Agree.
Everybody, people go happily and spend money behind.
But there are not too many Googles.
Yeah, but Rajiv, if I come and tell you the same thing,
I'm all for fair competition and whoever wins. But the fact is, we need Indian players too. Yeah. We need content providers. We need Indian language content. Google and Meta and every other company is welcome. But we need to also make sure there is a level playing field for other players. So, you know, let me bring another dimension. And I'm saying data. If you look at data, we talked about Bharat. The DD viewership has gone up in this BARC. And the DD free dish rates have gone from 6-7 crores to 20 plus crores. So Doordarshan is benefiting. Certain broadcasters are benefiting. I don't know. एक उर्दू में कहावत है, मेरे पिताजी कहते हैं कि इत्तफाक भी इतने इत्तफाकन नहीं होते. Coincidences are also not so coincidental. So I don't know. I'm
the God is in data.
Yeah. So point I'm trying to make is
gives you rating.
Yes. So where Mr. Rao also is agreeing that BARC needs to improve, and hence once it improves, we don't need multiple ratings. But when will BARC improve? That is $1 billion or maybe $12 billion question.
When will BARC improve? Perhaps the more pertinent question is, why will BARC improve? How can BARC be improved?
Very good. Tell us, sir.
If those who own it throw up their hands and say, good God, Bach is terrible. I mean, excuse me. I don't even get to understand this. What if L.V. Krishnan had thrown up his hands and said, time is terrible? Would you have said, yeah, what can we do about it?
So technology needs to improve.
Now,
New things need to be
also,
taken.
if I say, we all get exercised, all tell be exercised about TV audience ratings and one provider, two providers, multiple providers, and what Bach is not doing. We should be exercised about how to make multi-screen measurement possible.
Absolutely.
Why aren't we talking about that? We keep talking about what Bach isn't doing. Why can't we're asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
Why don't we ask, how can we make multi-screen measurement possible?
So that's the question. Why is Bach not doing it?
Because Bach is
I'm sorry,
currency.
That's why you need more agencies.
That's a different question. Why is Bach not doing it is a different question from how can we make it happen?
Oh, it's available. Technology is available. Ratings are available.
In fact,
Everything is available.
That's a very-
Bach is not doing it.
That's
Why you need
And
more agencies to do
the
it.
content creators, the content providers who own Bach can't make Bach do it. Wonderful.
Maybe it
I
suits
think
the top guys.
that's a very relevant question
Yeah,
because, like Rajesh,
And I think those content providers who own Bach are answerable to those whose money fuels the system, to the ISA.
This is the first
But the
point
ISA doesn't ask any questions.
Yeah.
It just sits there quietly.
from broadcaster point of view,
The
like,
one who signs the check sits there quietly. The one who makes the content complains about the body that it owns.
so the fact is a broadcaster.
None of it makes any sense to me.
So if broadcasters are contributing a large proportion of money to kind of run Bach, and broadcasters, like Rajiv said, the consumer behavior is changing. People are moving to other ecosystems to kind of consume the same content that's going on television. Then Bach, because in the interest of the broadcaster, should actually be able to evolve themselves to kind of capture all data consumer points,
They
at
should,
every platform.
But the broadcasters run that outfit.
Because the kind of spillage we
Why
have, the
don't
kind of
they do
waste
it?
we are getting is tremendous. We're not able to monitor.
Why don't broadcasters own the content? Why don't they do it? The advertisers spend the money. It is because of their money that the whole thing exists. Why don't they demand it?
So the answer is very
demanding
simple.
it.
I'll give you the answer. Very simple answer. I told you there are a handful of agencies and handful of business houses who own the entire media ecosystem. It suits both of them, which is why the other broadcasters have no say. I may be paying bar crores. I have no say there. What can I go and do there? Nothing. We've been trying. I have not been able to separate Punjab ratings from Haryana, Himachal, and Jammu till today.
I take your point. I am most mystified actually about the ISA. Why does the ISA?
So you're saying
So
people
other than the four mainline broadcasters, nobody in this country has any say on bar or rating system or anything.
Not even the guy who signs the check.
So the problem is
All of them are signing the check because the advertiser will tell them this is the currency.
Who signs the check for the advertising money?
But
The
sir,
advertiser who's
Suits them.
spending fuels the entire ecosystem.
It suits them
They
also,
sit
Even-
there quiet. They sit
So
there
even
quiet.
90,000 crores of advertising is
Yeah,
going.
even the
going
broadcast-
being
all those
deployed
four
on this
guys only.
basis.
Na?
actually the multiple broadcasters all are raising concern about it. Nobody wants to come together to kind of fight the battle together. That is the whole problem. There is no unity.
Sir, is it
happening
not a
at their
fact that
end. Yeah.
70% of the advertising money is going only to top 5 broadcasters? Top 5 broadcasters also taking up 80% of the subscription revenue from cable.
Sir, is the problem on Bach, or is the problem that they are not measuring comprehensively whether it is the digital TV or not?
Both, sir, both.
If you start measuring because the sources are there, and if Bach
Yeah.
as one body come together, puts linear and digital together and presents a picture, there will be a lot of change in way we are seeing the data.
Yes.
So let's all pressurize Bach to look at this thing.
So Bach-
we are talking of just a second, sir. We are talking of a system that the earlier system was bad. This is equally bad. The third will come. What is the guarantee that that is not bad? Better to get connected TVs and all come together and let Bach map data as one point, because you can't have two different data points and two agencies taking different data points, having different data coming, and then we are fighting that this one is right and the other one is not right. That I think will create more confusion like we had in TAM and in TAM.
And this question is to both Rajiv and Karthik. There are issues about multi-dwelling units. You know what is a multi-dwelling unit in a, there are questions about digital not being part of it. There are questions about unified currency, which brings everything together. There are questions about landing page anomalies, right? These are easily addressable. Why are they not being addressed? Why are you not asking for these to be addressed?
So these are low-hanging fruits. Like landing page is one issue which basically spikes ratings for one channel. And
Mr. Rajiv Dubey said it, not me. Though it's in my column 2 years back. Mr. Dubey.
No, I said, it basically changes the numbers. But ultimately, what matters to advertisers, once again, I'll say, I'm not for or against Bark or any other system. The only thing which matters for me is whatever brings me business at the lowest possible cost. I should be able to reach my consumer. I should be able to reach my customer in a cheapest possible manner. That's the only intent an advertiser has. It has got nothing to do with Bark, Shark, or any Tark. It really doesn't matter. I want to reach my consumer at the least possible cost, and I want to reach to that consumer again and again, and I want to sell. That's the only intent I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll take closing comments, and this time let me start from the person who was the last in the first round. Mr. Varun Kohli, your closing comments on why we don't need multiple agencies. What can Bark do to become really acceptable by everyone?
2-3 things which are very clear on my closing comments. One, the issue of money. If 2 agencies means more fund to be raised, it was very tough to have even 1 agency doing the job. So better to ask one guy to go more and more deeper into the data points that the broadcasters have, come at a common consensus, and let one body only give all the data points, which is very good for the agency.
Mr. Rabindra Narayan.
So I've been saying it for a long time that television viewing, consumption has changed. Either Bark grows up to the changing times, or others should come in and fill the gap. Why are we debating? The market forces will decide who will remain, who will go, whose data is authentic, whose data is exhaustive and more correct. They'll stay. Multiple players always will fuel debate and growth.
Okay, Mr. Rajiv Dubey, your comments, final comments.
Yeah, so the most important thing is the mapping of correct audiences. The NCCS system has lived its life. There is a new system called ISEC, which is there on the table.
Yeah.
One should look at how ISEC is mapped. It probably represents the correct way the audiences are mapped. I think the mapping of audiences correctly will also solve the problem in a way. And then having a unified measurement, looking at a consumer journey, how consumer consumes the content from morning till the evening, rather than just focusing on one screen, looking at multiple screens. That's the solution, rather than having multiple measurement agencies measuring the same consumer.
Okay, Mr. Karthik Sharma, your closing comments. Karthik, your closing comments.
On my closing comment, firstly, I think the leader of multi-screen, as many of you have said in the head, totally agree with that. Having more than one player will definitely fuel innovation, and a bit of healthy competition is good. There is also possibility of your players not just blindly competing head-to-head, but there are different segments, either geographical or target group segments, which can be measured. And then whether one body brings it together or they sell it as 2 different services, that's a different question. But at least more data across a large nation like this is super critical. I think in general there are opportunities to even look at lower costs. With your peers coming in, one of the things that everyone should consider is how do you bring the cost of operation, how do you bring the cost of measurement lower through newer technologies. That's something which is worth doing, and there is people meters, there is mapping, there are many other technologies one can actually look into and see whatever is suitable at a very cost effective way for the advertiser, the agency, and even the broadcaster.
Thank you, Karthik. Mr. Rao, your final comment.
Rajiv Dubey mentioned ISEC, and that again reminded me of something. It's just another example of the way Bark is functioning. ISEC comes along. I think it's a terrific thing. It's a terrific concept. ISA, the advertiser who spends the money on advertising, I keep reminding everybody, endorses ISEC. IBF does not. Because within IBF, the entertainment channels and the news channels see it differently. One thinks they'll gain by ISEC, one thinks they'll lose by ISEC, so they can't come together. And as a result, BARC is not going to adopt ISEC. BARC has not even discussed ISEC. Because IBF doesn't want it. Advertisers can want it. Too bad for them. So it's only their money, who cares? That's BARC.
Okay. On that note, let me bring in Ms. Mona Jain.
Yeah, I think very clearly, first of all, again, I'm again repeating myself, it is not really bashing BARC, but having a measurement system which is logical, which is transparent, which listens to you, which kind of, obviously, we are contributing money to the, to put the system together for them. So they should be listening to us, handling our, our issues, helping us to be able to kind of, make more revenue and more money. I come from a sales background. So any measurement system which helps to do that, obviously something which is acceptable and whose system is transformative, willing to kind of listen, yes. The second thing is just one, request and plea to the advertiser is that while BARC, yes, has become like, the Bible measurement system to kind of go to, but there are other sources of information, which are available in the marketplace. Not only in the digital ecosystem, but also with the advertisers. They do a lot of research of their own. Please do consider them also when you're evaluating a genre or a channel or a medium. Do not please just rest everything on BARC. That should not be the only measurement currency which should be accessible. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
So I want to just add on, Rajiv is one of the clients, who does that. And thank you very much, Rajiv, for that.
And thank you so much. I think I'd like to make it interactive with the audience. There are some industry leaders. There is Mr. Basant Rathore, who understands media. He's done the same bit with TAM, with IRS, NRS. This debate was on. We have Mr. Shamsher Singh, who's been editor of leading news channels. I'll bring you guys in, but I just want to ask the audience now, how many of you think we need 2 rating systems?
Multiple.
2? Oh, you want more than 2?
पैसे कौन देगा उसके?
Right. How many of you still believe we only should have 1 and it should improve?
Numbers have dropped.
Yeah, there is a minor reduction. I would say there is a minor reduction. So clearly, Mr. Narayan, Ms. Jain and Mr. Sharma, you have converted some. But I'd like to say, BARC has done its job of stabilizing a currency. It's done a good job. It is about improving in the areas that are representative of changes in the media landscape and in the consumer landscape. It is about unified currency. It is about bringing in digital. It is about addressing the pain points that advertisers have. And most importantly, as Mr. Chantamani Rao, at the end of the day, it is the advertiser money. The advertisers have to step in to be able to ask, demand, and create a better audience measurement system. It is an audience measurement system. It is not a television audience measurement system. And I think that is the biggest distinction that will happen. We need a currency. BARC has some acceptability. So let's improve BARC if we can. And really, my only point is, in theory, 2 players, multiple players bring competition. Competition brings excellence. But who will pay for it? And Mr. Rao says the advertisers ought to. Maybe that is the way forward. But clearly, it's too important a topic to involve the government. TRI paper is good, but the ratings in media should be done by industry bodies, and the government should stay out of it. And I would give BARC and its 3 stakeholders, the IBF, the AAAs of I and ISA, some credit for making sure that there is a working system. No relationship, no business, no working system is perfect. I'm sure the stakeholders of BARC are equally thinking about these issues and debating these issues behind closed doors. I hope today's debate acts as a catalyst for them to be able to improve the current system and acts as an input to the TRAI. And we'd hope the next time we have a TRAI representative and we have a BARC representative when we do this in Bombay, who are able to contribute their thought process. But it is such a sensitive issue that off the record BARC stakeholders talk to us, but on record, for the right reasons, they're not part of the debate in a formal way. So I wish that happens.